Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Okay, so first thing I'm noticing is that my sound is screwed up. Let's fix that. Okay. Let's just pull this over here for a second. Okay. All right, so let's pull links. There's that one. There's this one. Oh, there. Okay, so what do we got going on here? On Friday, we had a pretty significant down day. There's the news that they weren't able to continue much lower off through the news, but then we tested again overnight and broke at the low overnight here over the weekend, Sunday night. And at the moment, we're moving a little bit higher. E-mini looks pretty good too, heading higher. So I'm kind of wondering if this continues today. Also, just looking at the DOM, we're back to 3000s on the DOM. So there's that. Which means it must be summer. That can only mean one thing. It must be summer. And the bitcoins. We did move higher over the weekend, but we got a pretty decent sell this morning. Back below 75. People saying that the charts look awfully negative. Seems like in the past 2 months, there's always a mild pump between Friday and Sunday, and it falls back down by Monday. Funnily, it used to be the exact opposite for a while. Yeah, well, it's kind of hazy to like put an exact thing on it, but I've definitely seen that there tends to be moves over the weekend that then come off by Monday. It is a market maker scam. You're funny. All right. Yep, so here's the open. Yeah, if it's already starting like this, first fresh day of the new contract, this is gonna be a summer, let's just say. So we've kind of got a bit of a range going on here. Wouldn't have mind buying 25. Sorry, 22.5. Yeah. Only 800 to tick up. Ain't that something? Now, are they going to beat out the last high? Like last week, for it to tick up, you would have to trade like 2,000 multiple times. This time, 1,600 contracts go off and push it up, and that's all it takes. It may be better if it's less thick and moves more freely. Maybe. But my recollection from last year is that it doesn't move so freely when summer comes along. You get very nice trades when news comes along, though. Which, by the way, I didn't double check what's our news look like this week. Well, there's nothing today. Oh, there's factory orders month over month at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock my time, rather. Why is it not showing me the whole week? Okay. So we've got, and you know what? We only need to see. Let's just only show USD for now. Okay. We got non-manufacturing PMI, productivity. Yeah, so we got reasonable numbers this week. Oh, they did make a new high. And waiting here for maybe a reasonable spot to get long. I'm gonna eat here a little bit. Well, that one worked out really well. I just said, okay, there's an iceberg here, and I know that there was a balanced area up here at 24.5, so I just took it, and when they ticked up, they almost immediately pulled and filled. And only 363 contracts went through there, but I definitely would have gotten filled based on what the level 2 went down to. And now that price is actually stronger than that price, so I don't think he could have gotten a more risk-free trade right there. I'm happy about that. Oh, and by the way, I guess I forgot to say, but last week we were looking at always taking +4, and that worked out okay. In a couple of instances, it actually worked out really, really well. But most of the time, I actually ended up taking less than 4. So now what I'm looking at this week is more range-bound trades. So that's why I kind of just took the really safe trade there instead of waiting for it to possibly break out and so on and so forth. But I'm a little skeptical because I was just looking at Tucker's stats, which he has a really high win rate, but he's only taking like +2 on them, and I think even after the 60%, he's like, what does he show here? +6 in 18 trades. So it's really +3 for the whole month when you factor in commissions. So I'm a little concerned about how much the commissions are going to eat me up with doing this. I'm going to have to maintain a really, really high win rate for these trades to work out. It does look like trend up to me. $24.5 would be an okay place to take a trade. Really, 23.5 I think is the best place, but 24.5 is balanced, and you get a chance at seeing 26.5. It looks like when I say okay, though, it's like it's not like a bad trade location, but it's not an optimal trade location either. Definitely the optimal one in this case has to be below 24 if you're going long at least. Should minimize that, huh? ZT is really taking a dive here. So that's interesting. Trump is heading to Canada this week. Oh, interesting. Cool, let's keep an eye on ZB here because ZB really looks to me like it wants a new high. And we've been here, this spot in the spread for quite some time, and it's kind of like a this kind of looks like a support area to me. He's not welcome here. Who are you talking about, John? Oh, right. Yes. Yeah. So for those of you that are new or just don't remember, Bots here is a Canadian, and last time around when we were having all this trade war stuff, he was saying like, well, the tariffs just aren't fair when you look at what products we actually have trade imbalances on. And at the time, I was like, well, I'm not too sure because I haven't really seen too much about that. And plus, there was a lot of different stuff that was being talked about. And now it looks to me like that at least on steel, that putting the tariff on steel on Canada does not appear to be fair. Or at least they're not like Canada isn't dumping or anything like that. And so the thing is that they implemented this tariff 2 months ago, right back in February. That was when the market first freaked out. And the thing that placated the market was that they were giving our allies a exemption for 2 months or something like that. And what happened was that exemption expired. And the whole thing was that the exemption was just to give them time to negotiate on NAFTA. So what's really going on here is that Trump said, if you don't make a deal, we're going to raise the tariffs on you. And Japan and Mexico either just didn't realize it, didn't think it was a big deal, or thought he was bluffing or something. I don't know. And they didn't get it done. And so he put the tariff on, and now they're all surprised. So we'll see what happens. I think that ultimately he wants to make a deal. But it's kind of like he really, really wants to make a deal, but he really, really wants it to be a deal that makes him look good. So if I was Justin Trudeau, my recommendation would be to just get it over with. Give him something that makes him look good, but isn't really a big deal, and just get it done. Because I think that the longer you hold out, the worse the deal is going to get. What's he think about that? Well, there doesn't seem to be interest in selling it at 23.5. How do you make a silk purse out of a sewing here? He's saying, how does it make him look good? Well, I think that if he makes any kind of a deal, he's going to find a way to portray it as a really good deal and stuff. And of course, the market is just going to go along with it because they'll be happy that it's over with, even though it may not actually be that great of a deal. Like the thing is that I realized through all of this is that because the whole thing has been like, okay, we made bad trade deals and they weren't fair to the United States. But what I'm realizing is that like the trade deals are like inherently unfair, right? Because if it was like perfectly fair, you wouldn't need to have any kind of a deal, right? There would just, everything would be free, like there'd be no taxes at all, and all trade would just be straight up free, and that would be the only thing that would be fair. But countries can't handle that, so so instead what they're doing is they're saying, okay, you get to have this thing and we get to have this thing. Canada gets to have Canada wants dairy products, I think, is the thing that they're concerned about. And the United States is concerned about steel. And so there's going to be imbalances there. And then what happens is that's all fine and dandy then, but then 10 years down the line, they realize, oh, it's not so good because this particular industry is holding us back and we don't like it. Okay, that was a pretty good uptick there with the bid. I do kind of feel like they're going to try and test the highs, but it's been awfully messy here, and they're having a really hard time just busting through 25. Okay, well, Red Arnett is long 24.5. I think that's a good spot, dude. Well, not a good spot, but it's an okay spot. The everyday Canadian doesn't agree with the dairy quotas, but the millionaire dairy farmers have a strong lobby here. We'd be happy to see the price of milk products drop. Milk is almost $5. I think it's like $3 here. So anyways, so the problem that I have now is if we accept the fact that a trade deal cannot be symmetrical, let's say symmetrical, okay? Like, country's going to have some advantages in some industries and some advantages in other industries based on the trade deal. What would actually be like a good trade deal and a fair trade deal? Because it seems to me like that Donald Trump's primary concern is that manufacturing, quote unquote, things that would be important to the military aren't being done in the United States anymore. But that's kind of a problem in and of itself, because steel in particular, a lot of the steel that people want can't actually be made here because we don't have the ore. That's why they're getting it from China. So what do you do about that? I don't know if there's an easy answer here. And then here's another thing that I thought was really interesting. When Justin Trudeau was talking on Thursday or Friday, they were saying that the thing that really killed the talks this last time around was that Mike Pence called them up and said that they want a sunset provision so that in 5 years the deal goes away and they have to renegotiate it again. And he said that was a non-starter. But like, from my perspective, it was like, wouldn't a sunset provision be like a really good thing in the long run? Because it would give you incentive to make sure that the trade deal is fair, because if it's not fair, then they're going to be able to renegotiate it in 5 years. And so it's really in your best interest to try and just get it right this time so that you don't have to do that. And then if there is something unforeseen as a problem with the trade deal, we don't have to go through this whole thing again. We can just we can just adjust things in 5 years. I think that probably a sunset provision should be longer than 5 years, but I actually kind of like the idea of having to renegotiate every once in a while. But that was the thing that killed it. I don't know. Here's one thing that I do know for sure. Trading when this trade war stuff is going on, trading treasuries when this trade war stuff is going on, really sucks. I have had a really hard time finding an edge in the market when that's going on, because it's not clear which way treasuries react to it. Hi KK, how's it going? Okay, that 23.5 pulled awfully quickly. I'm going to be interested to see how much actually trades at 23.5 there. He's typing. A few orders go in there. The 5-year was the one that really sold off there. Also seeing it a little bit in the 2. Not so sure that flattening is the right thing here. Okay, so they did not trade through 23.5, and we just ticked up and they pulled at 24.5. And a lot of orders going through at 24.5 and not breaking through. ZF definitely ticked up 2 ticks and we've only ticked up 1 though. This might be a long, I don't feel like I have an edge here though. I'm not going to take it. That's, I think, the other thing that I gotta get in my head is I gotta realize the spots where I don't have an edge. So I think I've had many places where I got in on an area like this and it worked out really, really well for me. And it was just luck. KK is long, but he's not sure. And Radarnet is long too. What do you mean when you say have an edge? Also, Tucker tried getting 23.5. Yeah, no way he can get 23.5 right now, I think. guess since I'm trying to do ranges, I should have tried taking I could have taken a tick multiple times here between 24 and 24.5, but I feel like it's been in this range long enough that there's way too much of a risk of it popping out here. So I'm a little wary of taking a long at like 24. So I think what I would have to do. I think John must have a really long reply here. Oh, I was freaking number 200 with it. That's so bad. Okay, here we go. His approach to the things he does and says seems to be geared entirely to how his base will receive them. For some reason, he can't bring himself to tell the truth about all the jobs that have been lost over the last 20 years to automation, lower input costs driven by multi-million-dollar salaried CEOs, to foreign production deals agreed to, which is the primary reason why China is holding so much of your treasury debt. Yeah. Well, and I think what you're trying to say here is why is he picking on Canada? Because China is the real problem here, right? I think everybody kind of feels that way about that China is the problem. But the problem with China is that he's got this thing with North Korea, and he doesn't want to risk screwing that up. Like if North Korean peace falls through and things go south in North Korea, China is gonna get hit hard. He'll come back for vengeance, and he'll finally be like, okay, let's tariff everything in China. Yeah, don't you think? I think that's what will happen if North Korea doesn't work out. I really hope it works out. Even if it does work out, he might kind of start, I don't know. They're probably going to craft the deal in some way that there's like, they're stuck on it, you know. They've been doing exactly what everyone asked them to do, build cheap stuff and buy our treasury debt. Well, but I mean, is that... So I guess John's point here is that if without China everything's going to be a lot more expensive, then what? Like, that's not cool. Like, China is the thing that is keeping inflation in check, really. All I know is I was bid well beforehand, and 464 hitting wasn't enough to get a fill. Can't believe it. Yeah. This is what I'm saying, though, is like when you get a balanced price or two balanced prices next to each other, the chances of you getting filled on the edges is really low. And it's often the case that if you do get filled on the edges, it's going to tick right through you. Because it's much more common for them to, like, how do I say this? It's much more common for them to zigzag around here and then break up and hit 25.5 and never even see 23.5 than it would be for them to bust through 23 half, 23, faults break out, and then go up. Not that it can't happen. I mean, it happens all the time, but it's just slightly less common. Too many scenarios. Look at the cardboard industry. They've been suffering for years. We don't need cardboard boxes to ship things here because we don't make anything here anymore. Oh. Not quite sure I follow you on that one. I guess you're saying that's an industry that it's not profitable, but we still need it. Okay, they took 24 and they took down pretty strongly. Maybe you get your fill at 23.5 now. Oh, look at that. And they did not put a strong offer on it. But now there's a chance that they just plow right on through to 22. Let's see. They make cardboard in China. Oh, I did not know. UB is kind of headed down too. If we started to see some selling in ZB, then that would probably be enough on the curve to start pushing everybody down. But I really don't see any serious interest in them doing that at the moment. If I was gonna have to guess, and I don't feel like I have an edge here, but if I was gonna have to guess, I think you'd be safe to buy 24. Actually, 20. Let's just say 23.5. 4 is 4 ticks away from the VWAP, but I think you could buy 24 and you would have a really good chance of seeing 26.5 because that was like yesterday's VWAP. I think that that's probably your best bet. Oh, there you go. See, now the 23 pulled. So as soon as I say that, they decide to take it down. Or the market is listening. They know that Seth was predicting that probably we have a higher chance of seeing the high of the day, and so they decided to tick down 2 ticks against me. Well, there's that sell in ZB that I was saying that you kind of needed, but now you're still not seeing the selling come into ZN, at least not continuation type selling. In fact, there you go, a tick up. By the way, what was John's notes today? I'm leaning to the long side. What, 43.21? $143.29. Super tight targets, dude. Well, you're definitely seeing the selling go through in the 5-year. Like I was saying, this is kind of a support area for the knob spread. Actually, I have to zoom out a little bit more to really see. Maximum flat. Like if the knob spread doesn't go back to the mean here, essentially, which would probably be back around 216.39. Actually, over here. So here we are right here. So if it doesn't go back up to like this spot right here, then the next step down was the low of the year. Are we really ready to go back down to the lows of the year here in the Treasuries? I don't know. Totally happen. I'm gonna guess though that the global uncertainty players are not going to allow that so quickly, at least. Today's bull bear zone is 143.20 to 143.24. Oh, so we actually are above the bull bear zone. Yeah. First yen is 120 to 120.20. So we're above the bull bear zone on both of those. Should be buying. Yeah, the 23 is holding okay. We supported 23.5 3 times, but we slowed right down in terms of the auctioning activity. There was a lack of interest at 24 and 25. Interesting to see how they responded to 23.5 and 26. Almost bullish above, bearish below in terms of the opening range. Or no, when they first ticked down and they ticked the 20, 23 and 22.5, there was pulling there, right? So I mean, 23.5 is showing a little bit. No, it's just slightly lower, I think. If I come over here, the low was 190, the low was 185. Okay, so here you are, 223. Still balanced, you could hit in there. You see pulling there? Auctioning activity is actually not auctioning activity per se, but level 2 activity is just picked up here. Donald Trump still tweeting about the special counsel today. Appointment of the special counsel is unconstitutional. Despite that, we play the game because I, unlike Democrats, have done nothing wrong. It's unconstitutional, and yet it was the executive branch that appointed it. I have absolute right to pardon myself. And this is another weird thing, is that the administration has been arguing really adamantly that they could pardon themselves and that they can't be like subpoenaed or anything like that. Now, on one hand, they are right in that if you want to remove the president, you have to impeach them. And trying to like do an end run around that by like subpoenaing them to a grand jury or something like that before you've impeached them is not the way to do it and would not hold up. But like sitting down and saying, well, I could just pardon myself, doesn't really seem like the argument you would want to be making right now, does it? Well, that at 23 looks a lot like a lure to me. They're only putting up 200 contracts at one point and nobody's going in. Okay, well, we did get a few to sell. A 1 and a 2 lot, that might just be retail traders. Ah, so we're actually right in the middle of the bull bear zone. Okay. May actually be an iceberg at 23.5. $26. Why do you say 26? Oh, you mean 26 in CB. I got you now. Okay. I thought you were talking about the 26 in CN, and I'm like, what? I should have seen that you. Yeah. Anyways. So I should point out another thing. The cumulative delta in CF is all down. So makes me a little hesitant to want to buy it. we had a trend in cumulative delta positive in all three, then I would be more like, okay, we could trade this long. What is it saying in the Bitcoin channel? Bit surprised that charting platforms do not offer easy and advanced filtering options for the data. Yeah. That might change this next run. Trump ultimately wants a world with no trade tariffs. Well, good. See, I think we're kind of on the safe way. I'm telling you, he's just trying to negotiate. He thinks that this helps him in negotiating. We're all greedy. City's top market watcher says, warning that big gains this year aren't assured. I think you have a situation in equities where you're going to have a tough year. I mean, we've already had a tough year, but I really think that this could continue all the way up until like October. And then what you'll get is like a end of year rally or maybe a beginning of year rally next year. And that's maybe when the mania begins. You know? I haven't really seen mania. My friends aren't telling me which stocks to buy. I did see that in Bitcoin. I used to spend a lot of time in the rave scene, so I DJ. Not that I'm into the parties or anything like that. That's definitely not me, but I just really like the music, so do that. And so I have a lot of rave friends. And I remember there was this one girl that was like, okay, I'm buying Bitcoin. And I'm like, oh boy. Like that back in December, I was like, okay, this is definitely a market bubble now. Not that she's not bright or anything like that. It's just that when your rave friends are telling you to buy an investment, they're definitely going to be like the last people to get involved in any market, right? Oh, I like trance. I like trance the most, but I listen to almost everything. I really like bass music. Really like if you want like good podcasts to listen to Noisier Radio. That's like the best podcast right now, I think. And I like the newer Future House stuff too, although it's starting to grate on me. I think they need to come up with something new out there. What we need, is we need a market crash, because the music always changes when the market crashes, you know? Uh, You ever seen that? You go and search for it. I'm too lazy to go and find it right now. But they did studies that found that the BPM of music increases during financial crises, and the keys of the song tend to be more minor keys. So the music becomes faster and more moody, darker. That's what we need. That's how electro house and dubstep happened. And then everything got all rosy. So they did all of the deep house stuff. Now it's time, deep house is okay, but I'm starting to get bored with it. It's time for something to change. We're ways off from like a true market crash, though. I don't think this noise that we're having in Europe right now is going to lead to a financial crisis. Market seems a little overly concerned about it. It's like when you're really worried about something, you see something in the economy, you're really worried about it. Like, let's say you're worried that mortgages are going to go down because people are over leveraged in the housing market. And so maybe you take a short, and then the thing happens that you think is going to be, you're supposed to be really concerned about, and the market doesn't move on it. That's when you got to be worried, right? And that's exactly what happened in 2008. Like, remember watching The Big Short or whatever that movie is, and there was that day where they had already taken their trade and their investment, and they were supposed to make money on it that day, but the index didn't move. They're like, well, this is the way that it's calculated, and it didn't go down today. And they're all like, this is total bullcrap, right? Well, that's your signal that something bad is going to happen. So when the market should be pricing in risk and it doesn't. When you have like just a little risk and the market like really freaks out, then that's kind of like, no big deal. They usually recover from that one. Or at least since I've been watching markets, they have. Okay, below the VWAP. I'm glad I didn't take any of those long. Is anyone still on? Well, I suppose if we wanted to really go short on a test of the overnight lows, that we could take a short at 22. It would be a really great short. I'm actually skeptical if I put an order in there if I would even get filled. I don't want to put one in here yet because I'm not necessarily seeing some sort of a short signal. Let's see if we get some backflow and they're hesitant to even take 22.5. And maybe we could take it. The further down it goes, the better and better long propositions come. So Tucker It's still kind of seeing it as range bound. I guess you're saying we had trouble extending to the upside, and now they're going to test the downside and probably fail as well. We are below the bull bear zone now at this point. Okay. In hindsight, we should have been paying more attention to the 3/4 of a point, both in the ZB and the ZN we're trading around. 143.24 in ZB and 119.24 in ZN. Well, 224 in ZN was definitely a critical price. They rotated around that a lot. Oh, I gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So iceberging there, but it held. So I'm gonna have to say that's not your short right there. Look at the ZF though. The ZF has got a big old order right there. Was that always there? That was always there. That's been there for quite some time. Holding us down. Okay. So like, are they really gonna buy into that? That seems like that's not gonna happen. Couple of orders bought though. This is probably a bad play. I'm like, I have my mouse on it, but I need to take it away because we do have equities 2 minutes. So this is not the spot that I want to mess around with. Okay, so they're trying to sell 21.5 again, and there's still iceberging there. But ZF bought through it, and they put a really good offer on it. And this price is trying to hold strong. Nope. Shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have done that. Well, that's holding. Okay, pulled and they took it off. There it's back. Okay. That's kind of interesting behavior. Okay. Ooh. Okay. A little bit of fiddling around on the level 2 now. Oh, it's stacking right there. The 27, 28. Not quite better than the bid. Seems like they're trying to get a flip though. No more than 2408. It's just been holding there solid. See that? This level 2 here is not changing a lot. And this remains higher. Okay. Hit. No, still more. Okay. There you go. Somebody blinked. Why this location 21.5? Because I saw that just happens to be where the pressure came in. I don't think that particular location is necessarily like a really efficient one. Like 22 definitely would have been the best price for a short. But when I saw that the ZF had ticked down and there was a big order on it, and ZN hadn't done it yet, they were iceberging, I kind of knew that this iceberg, this 89.05 at 21.5, was going to lose because the ZF was not done. Yeah, look at the offer at 22. Jeez. See, the problem with 21.5 is that they could still tick up, and then I'm kind of like, you know, may have to take -1 or break even. So it's not, I don't think it's the perfect spot. 220 was probably the spot I needed to take. But it wasn't given the signal back then, so I don't know what to do. I'm considering taking the +1, to be honest, because I feel like that with this offer here, that it should really just be going, you know? Auctioning a low value node from a week or so ago, nothing unusual. 19.5 is kind of an edge profile, so I actually think that my exit is in a really good spot. I don't see any reason to take it off yet, but the pressure is definitely not continuing through the way that I would expect. And especially ZF. Okay, maybe ZF is a reason to take it off. They just ticked up there. Yeah. Here's a big order in ZB, so they're probably going to hit it. I don't think that that order is going to pull or anything. Yeah. Okay, this 22 is not as strong as it should be. Not necessarily a huge deal, but I'm just noticing. Making me nervous. Still nobody wants to hit the big order in ZB. Yeah, okay, pull here in ZN. They're willing to buy 21. Okay, one order went through. And a little bit pull, like it was 1700 and now it's 1300. But it does seem like 1,000 of this does want to get filled. Yeah, mud. That's true. It sure is slow here. And we do appear to have some liquidity slowing us down at these two prices in ZN. And we got these prices below us in ZF that they didn't necessarily pull when we got through. A couple of orders have hit. This is still holding strong though. The equities are having pretty good time since the open as well. They've been nothing but up. Okay. So they traded there was a collision there. Well, that's kind of interesting. Okay. So they traded it. It kind of paused there. Now sellers are deciding to try and take it again. Buyers finding them out, pulling. ZF's still not ready to go. Need to see that pull. Okay, so ZB's not ready to initiate at 20 or 19 yet. Okay, there. The ZF finally took one. Not a huge offer though. Still kind of looks like what Tucker was saying. It's like stuck in the mud. A strong offer now at 21. E-mini continues to push higher. I'm surprised that the E-mini can be this strong and treasuries aren't just totally puking. Anthony telling us China's prime minister saying he is bullish about blockchain and cryptos. Still not too positive on the way the action has been in Bitcoin, but they might pull it out here for a while at least. Okay. Okay, now they're hitting into this 21 and they're hitting icebergs. So I don't know if these sellers are going to be able to hold it or not, but the sellers definitely are still willing to sell more as it comes back into their face. Okay, two down ticks there. Cable fighting at 20.5 again. The 19 not pulling, but a lot more hit there that time. Didn't see what happened in ZF. Okay. Nobody hitting. Oh, there with 4. It's not enough. I think it probably ticks up again. At least temporarily. Okay. So a stronger bid there in ZF. And I don't see this. I mean, that was pretty good selling there. But in order for ZF to really run, I mean, it would have to be like some really crazy selling through here, through the low. We're not seeing this 20 pull. Okay, they are hitting this one. See that? Okay. Not sure if that's enough to break the low yet. In ZF, that is. This was the price that we wanted in ZB for, or sorry, in ZN for sure though, because it was the last step in the profile before lower. Okay, good bid there. It's really trying to hold it. Sellers are kind of slowly flooding in. Might have to take 20. Might have to take 20.5, frankly. Touched, but it didn't fill my price. Okay. Okay. Need to see some pressure in CB. There you go. Come on. Not enough. all sorts of shenanigans going on in ZF there. There was a pull and then they got hit, but then it didn't tick down. That is way too weak. Wonder if that's a lure. Still kind of shady here, I think. They're not hitting it. Okay. Maybe now they tick up. Not a strong bid. And there was 31, so had to buy into it. It's somewhat supportive. Yeah. Okay. Should be a better offer than that. Here's the ZB. Let's reset it to here. ZB's not ready to take it. Strong bid in ZF though. Let's just take +2. It's just too balanced right here. I guess I could have gotten the +3. How long was I in that for? I think I was in that too long. I was in that for 20 minutes. I think that taking it off there was the right thing to do. So 2 trades, 4 ticks on the day. That's not bad. For a Monday, that's actually really great. Well, this is going. Let's do some work here. Okay, so for O3, it's 123. We actually increased a little bit. Huh. That is not what I expected. Apparently I need to make my videos about the Bitcoin indicator a little more prominent on the Patreon page. Okay. So there's the 20. My bird is saying it's time to wake up. And none of my family are, because it's summer now for them. This gonna be interesting. And my other bird, I got another bird actually this weekend. And she's being real quiet. Still wouldn't have gotten my 19.5. Oh, you weren't watching. I bailed. I got short at 21.5 and I bailed at 20.5. So it had, I'll show you here if I zoom in here. So I got short like here, I think. And then we got this. So I had gotten +3. And then when it came back, it wasn't quite going. And I think I got out somewhere around here. But now you can see it's still kind of acting like meh. So I don't know. I don't know what were the chances that it was going to tick down there again. Like, could we have been actually seeing that? So maybe it's a wash. Maybe it's just kind of luck of the draw. But okay, better waiting in my opinion. Days turning risk on context, cooling in EU, etc. Start of the month, better chance to get a trend. Only reason to get out was factory orders. Yeah, that's a good point. Pre-news, of course. They should put 200 so that it's clear that that we're talking about the 10-year. What? Microsoft really is going to buy GitHub? Boo. Okay, so on one hand, it will be really nice to be able to have GitHub better integrated into Visual Studio and all of Microsoft's products. Because it's been really, really annoying that they have that Team Foundation server and you can't integrate anything into the Team Foundation server like you can with GitHub. And that's really cool. But on the other hand, Microsoft just destroys everything that they touch in tech, and GitHub is kind of like the independent open source place. And to see it taken over, I think, is not a positive thing. Even though, I mean, you know, Bitbucket and places like that, but still, I'm really taken back that it happened. See, now iceberging at 20.5 as well. So if we had not taken the 20, I should have taken the 20.5. I don't know if that's enough to make me want to go long, but it's definitely more liquidity, more resistance than I'd be willing to take on a day like this. You know? So I think for having taken 2 trades Pretty good trading today, I think. ZB is still one tick inside the overnight high and overnight low. Yeah. So what was the news? It was, let's refresh here. Hate that. Okay, it was negative 0.8 versus 0.4. Volatile number downtrend resumption. Oh, there you go. The E-mini just took its little dive. The counter trend period starts at around 10:15, but it's not like an exact sort of a thing, you know? I don't think I have the chart anymore once, but John had always told me about this counter trend period, and I don't know how he knew about it, but he just, always said here's a counter trend period. And somebody else asked me to do a chart for them where they were just like, show me the average of your every day, and I did it based on the slope of the VWAP line, and kind of averaged it out, so that the direction of it didn't matter. And I found that there was a distinct decrease in in the slope of the moving average. Sorry, that I don't know. Let me start over. I did something where I did the absolute value of the moving average slope, and then I compared like last year's days. Okay, and when you do that, that average at that particular time of day goes down distinctly. So there is definitely a tendency for there to be a counter trend period between 10:15 and 10:45. Now, despite knowing that for such a long time, I've had a really hard time really capitalizing on it, but it's definitely something that happens, and it's definitely a time period that you need to watch. So what could happen is we could sit here for 30 minutes, try to test 21.5 and fail, and then push lower and extend the overnight lows. That's a distinct possibility here. But for me, I'm gonna say it's probably better for me to stay out, because we're like between the overnight low and the VWAP, and we're in a counter trend period, and we're just not having super strong trend today. We haven't been able to get beyond one standard deviation from the VWAP. So this is kind of like a place where I don't think we have a whole lot of edge in the order book. Building support, will it hold? I have to say they've ticked through that 20 a few too many times. So that price was definitely more balanced than I thought it was. I'm gonna laugh if this counter trend period ends up not being a thing and they just decide to go and take it during this time. Now that we've made a big deal out of the counter trend period. So let me just be clear. We are entering into the counter trend period and I do think it's something to watch, but it's not something that I consider to be like a huge edge or anything. So if you see a really strong signal short from your usual trading, I would still take it. It's just kind of like, you know, the way here's how I look at the day. You have between, well, I'm 8 o'clock and the open, and then that first 30 minutes, there's definitely people positioning themselves and getting the day started and figuring out what the day is going to be. And then from that 8:30 to 9 period, if treasuries are going to do something on their own and they're going to trend, they usually start it there. So the earlier that the trend starts, the better, and the more likely that trend is to continue, and the more likely you are to be able to write it. So if we're going to have a really good day, we should find out about it right there at that 9 o'clock, before 9 o'clock. Between 9 o'clock and 9:30, before the E-mini opens, tends to be a dead period, right? Because people have already made their positions from treasuries and now they're positioning themselves in the E-mini and waiting for the E-mini to open. Then from 9:30 till 10, really 10:15, you get that first move in the E-mini. And you can get some decent moves in treasuries. Like if we're having a trend, you tend to get extension of the trend during that period. And then you enter into this counter trend period where I tend to, we tend to be more range bound. Oh my, we actually did take the 19.5. Okay. So I'm glad, you know, even though we saw a bunch of signals that maybe it could be long in there, I'm glad I stayed out of all of that. And then what happens is there's always kind of tends to be this feeling that like we're going to have a move between around 10:15 Eastern time and 9:15 Eastern time. And usually what happens is I'll take a position expecting this move to go and unwind. Like I would take it short here at 20 or something like that and expect to see an extension of the overnight low. And it happens, but it doesn't happen until after 11 when I'm usually gone. ZB touched that 16, didn't it? Yeah. 119.18 should be the next leg down in ZN if they extend past 19, but sometimes these moves when tick outside the demand level are a good buying signal in my opinion. It could reverse here for sure. I don't think, so one of the things was that we had iceberging here and we had iceberging here, and then they didn't really take it here, and we just kind of happened to tick down 2 ticks. And you notice that during almost this whole time here, the cumulative delta has been flat in both of these. And the only thing that you really saw that was significant was in ZF. And the VWAP on the ESL, though, that's a good point too. Very good point, Gracie. But anyways, so you can factor in that this is kind of flat, that we had some icebergs that didn't really mean anything, and the only reason we ticked down was because we had this iceberg in ZF. I think that kind of adds to the idea that
block sell.
The reads here might not be reliable. Okay, so there was a block sell. Yeah. Hmm. So I'm getting ready to go, so I'm gonna come in here and look at comments. So I see one person, Shendo X Joey. So I'm not sure if you're still there watching on Twitch, but if you come back tomorrow, or go into the Discord channel, and it's a little earlier in the day, and we could maybe walk you through what we do. There's also some videos, like I have a video, a really old one, but like where I walk you through the workspace and what I talk about, and we kind of talk about it every day. So I would, recommend you just go back and look at some of the older videos for that. But basically, we're trading Treasury futures, so we're just trying to pick up like 1 to 4 ticks here. Generally speaking, it's a very slow moving instrument, and we're looking at all the orders to see which way it's going to go. Okay, so the E-mini is starting to push below that VWAP now. So that's a little bit more of the quote unquote counter trend. It did touch 19, right? Yeah. And so how would you say that the move is defined, John? So I definitely, what I see, especially with that last tick, definitely looks like the counter trend to me. But at what point would you take it? And yeah, their IQ has the right question. Where so are you long? Oh my gosh. Okay, so there it is, back to the VWAP. Touch it. Almost. Almost. Yeah, I mean, so that did not play out the way I expected. I'm going to do the review here really quick. I don't see any other questions, do I? You guys can ask John about that. I can only say John is a really good trader, and I respect what he has to say, so he can definitely answer your questions, and you can take a look at it and try testing it yourself to see if it would work for you. But we knew that the counter trend was coming in here at 815, but then what happened was we actually extended the range by one tick, and then we started a really good uptrend. And that hasn't. Oh, it did. They did tick the VWAP, but only 76 orders. So I think that, you know, what I was saying earlier about, you know, this is maybe not a good place for me to trade because I don't really have a read here. I think that definitely played out, that part, because here, I mean, we did get a trend up, but like barely on any delta. It was really the E-mini was the one that moved. You can see here the E-mini really came down. It hasn't quite broken that last pivot, but we'll see. So staying out there was, I think, the smart call. And taking the +2 instead of the +4 on this one. No way I could have read that with my strategy. Maybe there was a way, and we should look at that to see if some of those things could have told us that we actually were going to get the +4. But I'm still pretty happy with it to take 2 trades and take 4 ticks out of the day as really good, especially compared to what happened to us on Friday. And I did get one counter trend, not counter trend, but one range bound trade out of that. The second one, I wasn't expecting it to be range bound, but I guess it did end up being kind of a similar thing. So overall, I'm going to call this a good day. But yeah, I would love. Okay, so I would love to hear more about Eurodollars, but I got to run. And yeah, so I think that's going to be it. Good day. I will see you guys tomorrow.